Mary Kay had to say about Deshaun Watson. Quote, "I think he needs to get some proper rest over the break because I thought his arm seemed to tail off a little. Maybe he's got the slightest bit of fatigue in his surgically repaired shoulder."
I did think when I looked out there in the last week or two of OTAs and mandatory minicamp that there were a few inconsistencies, and I theorized that perhaps maybe his arm just was, a little tired at the end, or maybe just a little bit more fatigued than it was in the beginning.
For months, Browns fans believed this quarterback battle was heading in one direction. Deshaun Watson was the experienced veteran trying to reclaim his job. Shedeur Sanders was the young quarterback expected to keep developing behind him. But one of Cleveland's most trusted insiders has now added a new twist to the story. Mary Kay Cabot believes the competition is much closer than many people realize, and if she's right, training camp could completely change the Browns' plans at quarterback. Mary Kay Cabot isn't someone who throws out random hot takes. She has covered the Browns for decades. When she says Shedeur Sanders is nipping at the heels of Deshaun Watson, people inside Cleveland pay attention. That comment immediately changed the conversation. Suddenly, this wasn't just about Watson returning from injury. It became a real competition, one where every practice, every preseason drive, and every decision from Todd Monken could reshape the future of the franchise.
Yeah, there's no way anybody could be this definitive yet on Shedeur. I'll say that there are some things, and when you watch him on tape, that you're like, oh, well, if he can put this and this together, there's a case for him to be a good quarterback eventually. But there are also things that you see on tape for him is like, hey, if he continues to do this, he can't be out there much longer.
The interesting part isn't that Shedeur Sanders has improved. Most young quarterbacks are expected to improve after spending time inside an NFL system. The interesting part is how quickly the conversation has changed. Just a few months ago, Watson looked like the obvious favorite. He was the veteran, he had the experience, he knew what it took to play at the highest level. Now the conversation feels very different. Watson is still trying to prove he can stay healthy after multiple injuries. Meanwhile, Sanders continues earning positive reviews for the way he processes the offense and the confidence he has shown throughout the offseason. Nobody is saying he has already won the job, but people are no longer treating him like a long shot either.
I have mentioned them as minor inconsistencies. I've heard other people describe them a little bit differently than that. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's a huge issue. I really don't think it's a huge issue. He's up here throwing. He's going to continue to throw. He's doing a passing camp, I think, next week in South Florida. My whole point was just keep an eye on it. Just manage it. If you see little inconsistencies that send up any kind of a little red flag, just make sure it's nothing. I don't think it's anything at all.
Mary Kay Cabot also pointed to something many fans have overlooked. Watson's decision to return early and continue working with his personal quarterback coach isn't just part of his normal routine. She believes it sends a message. Watson understands this competition is real. He knows nothing will be handed to him simply because of his contract or experience. Every quarterback in that room has something to prove. Every practice matters. And Watson appears determined to show the coaching staff that he is still the best option to lead the offense. That creates a completely different atmosphere heading into training camp. Instead of one established starter and several backups, the Browns now have multiple quarterbacks fighting for meaningful opportunities. Competition like that usually brings out the best in players, but it also creates pressure. Every missed throw feels bigger. Every good practice gets more attention. Every preseason snap suddenly carries real importance. That is exactly why Mary Kay Cabot's comments matter so much. She isn't predicting who will start week 1. She isn't saying Watson has lost the job. She is simply pointing out that the gap between the quarterbacks may be much smaller than people assumed. If Sanders continues improving, the Browns will have a difficult decision to make. Do they stay with the experienced veteran, or do they trust the younger quarterback whose development seems to be accelerating? That decision won't be based on reputation. It won't be based on contracts. It will be based on performance. Todd Monken has made it clear that training camp and preseason will provide the answers. Until then, every quarterback still has a chance to change the depth chart. And according to Mary Kay Cabot, Shedeur Sanders is making this battle much more competitive than anyone expected a few months ago.
Hey, speaking of DeWine, how have you seen him throughout the rehab process?
If a guy's been injured and out, it's easy to put on weight, right? It just is. You're not as active. He's been great. He looks really good running around. Obviously, his grasp what we're trying to do. So it's been fun having him out there working.
One of the most interesting things Mary Kay Cabot pointed out had nothing to do with arm strength or highlight throws. It was Watson's decision to return to Cleveland early and continue working with his quarterback coach before training camp officially opened. According to Cabot, that wasn't just another off-season workout. It was a message. Watson understands this competition is real. He knows he can't rely on his resume or his contract anymore. Every practice matters, every rep matters, and every opportunity to show the coaching staff that he is still capable of leading this team matters even more. That is a very different situation from previous years. In the past, Watson entered camp as the unquestioned starter. This time, there are real conversations about whether another quarterback could eventually push him. That changes the mentality of everyone in the quarterback room.
Soreness, whatever it may be, toward the end of the OTAs and minicamp, he's not even getting hit yet, and he's already having issues with his arm.
The biggest reason this competition feels different is because nobody inside the organization appears interested in rushing the decision. Todd Monken has repeatedly emphasized that training camp and preseason will determine the depth chart. Nobody has officially been handed the starting job. That keeps the pressure on every quarterback. Deshaun Watson has to prove he can stay healthy and perform consistently. Shedeur Sanders has to prove that his strong off-season progress can continue once the pads come on. Dillon Gabriel is trying to show he deserves to remain part of the conversation as well. That is exactly why Mary Kay Cabot's comments carry so much weight. She isn't saying Watson is finished. She isn't predicting Sanders will become QB1. She is saying this battle is much more competitive than people outside Cleveland may realize. And if that is true, every preseason series could have a major impact on the final decision. There is another reason Browns fans should pay attention. The coaching staff isn't only evaluating talent. They are evaluating leadership, communication, decision-making, consistency. Those qualities often separate quarterbacks who have similar physical ability. A deep throw might impress fans, but coaches notice how quickly a quarterback identifies a blitz, changes protection, or gets the offense into the right play before the snap. That is why every practice report matters. If Watson consistently looks sharp, he strengthens his position as the starter. If Sanders keeps improving and closing the gap, the coaching staff has a much tougher decision to make. Competition has a way of revealing things that off-season predictions never can.
It's hard to really say. It's hard to say, and, whether it would have been a legit pressure, it wouldn't have been. Would he have had all that time? I don't know. There's still a lot to see. Quarterbacks and the O-line, especially once we put the pads on.
At the end of the day, Mary Kay Cabot's comments didn't guarantee a new starting quarterback. They did something more important. They reminded everyone that this competition is still alive. Deshaun Watson may still have the edge because of his experience, but experience alone won't win the job. Performance will. For Shedeur Sanders, this is the opportunity he has been waiting for. Every good practice builds confidence. Every preseason drive gives him another chance to prove he belongs in the Browns' long-term plans. He doesn't have to be perfect, he simply has to keep improving. For Watson, the challenge is equally clear. He has to remind everyone why Cleveland invested so heavily in him. He has to show he can stay healthy. He has to show he can lead the offense with consistency. And most importantly, he has to prove that the best version of Deshaun Watson still exists. Training camp will answer questions that months of speculation never could. Analysts will keep making predictions. Fans will keep debating online. Headlines will continue to change every day. But once the Browns step onto the field, only one thing will matter. Who gives Cleveland the best chance to win? Mary Kay Cabot believes that answer is still being decided. And if she's right, this could become one of the most important quarterback battles the Browns have faced in years.